In today's video, I'm going to teach you all how to animate in Procreate. We're going to go over a couple of animation principles. Also, I'm going to show you how to use the animation assist tool. And finally, I'm going to show you how to export your animations once you're finished. So if you're ready, let's go.
Coming in, flex, I just wanna win, LABB who we running with,
When we think of animations, we think of movies and cartoons, but there's a simple concept to all of that. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to create your frames or your layers, and then put them in a sequence where those animations or those images turn into an animation. So we're gonna create an animation of a ball coming from the left-hand side, all the way to the bottom middle and bouncing off the page. To create our ball, we have a brush tool, use our monoline brush, and we want to make a circle on the left-hand corner of the screen. Cool. Simple. Next, we want to take that same frame or layer and let's duplicate that 3 times. So what we're going to do with these two similar layers, we're just going to change the position of the balls or the circles to move further into that page. All right, now that we have our 3 positions of that ball, we have 3 frames. We're then going to create a 4th frame. This is where we get into our principles, our animation principles. So we're going to use the stretch and squeeze principle. So what that will do is just simply change the form of the circle to show that it's moving from one position to the other. It's like exaggerating the look. So what I'm going to do, I have my 4th layer out of the 3, and I'm going to simply create an oval. So I created one, I'm going to create another one. I'm going to create one more. So now we have 6 layers. These are 3 more stagnant layers. And these are 3 motion layers, or we can call these frames, right? So now we do have to have a certain endpoint to where this ball lands. Perfect. So it's showing the ball starting here, it's still stagnant, then it speeds up, then it hits that plane, and then we're gonna have the ball kind of go back in motion. Now, we're gonna create our last 2 or 3 layers to repeat this motion of going from a specific height down, having gravity do its thing, and then boom, come off the page. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 frames. 11 layers, 11 frames. So the next thing we want to do is turn on our animation assist. So how you do that, you want to go to our wrench on the left-hand side, go to canvas, and you want to go to animation assist. What that will do, it will create a panel at the bottom with all of your frames that you drew, showing that subtle animation of that ball, that shape going through its phase. Now to get a little bit into what the animation assist is, it basically creates an onion skin layer or a preview frame of your current frames and your previous frames. So here you go, your settings, you can have it set to loop. which it will constantly go, the animation will continuously go through over and over and over again, kind of like an animated gift. A ping pong is when the animation will go left and right, it'll go back and forth, so it'll start and it'll reverse. A one shot is the animation will just play one time and that's it. So let me show you an example. So this is your loop. Animation will continuously bounce over and over again like an animated GIF. So now let's go to ping pong. Ping pong, you'll go back and forth. And then let's go here with one shot. That means it'll play the animation one time through. So you have to continuously press play for the animation to work. So if you got to this point, you've created your first animation. Not hard at all. With the animation assist and with your components or your layers, it's super easy to keep track of what you're doing. Now let me kind of go into the framing. So frames per second, it's basically showing how many frames are playing within 1 second. So you have 11 frames, it's set to 15 frames per second. If you speed it up, your animation will be very, very quick. So let's do, for instance, 50 frames per second. We only have 11 frames, so it's gonna make the animation go really, really fast. So that's what that looks like. You can barely see it because it's so quick. But if we were to slow this frame down to the 11 frames we have, you can kind of see the animation play through. So it's playing the 11 frames that you created within 1 second. We can slow it down even more. We can do 5 frames per second. So it's basically slowing that animation down some more so you can see it play from start to finish, which is pretty simple, pretty cool. Now, going into the onion skin. So your onion skin, it just shows the frames that are previous and before your current frame, right? So we're on our 3rd frame right here. Your onion skin has 2 frames behind and 2 frames in front. So once we do that, sorry, I'm moving the wrong thing. So we can move our onion skin frames over to max, and it shows all of the frames that are in your animation. Or we can say, hey, I don't want to see all those frames at once. I want to minimize that. So let's make it 5 frames. So it's only going to show 5 frames previously and 5 frames ahead. We don't have 5 frames before this particular frame, so it's only going to show the 2. But these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're going to show in front. So that's onion skin. And then the opacity, you can turn on the opacity of what you want it to look like. I mean, as far as like how much you want that to be seen in your animation. If you don't want it to be prominent, you can drop the onion skin opacity to like 40. If you want the animation to have all its frames shown at once, turn it all the way up. So we're gonna make a basketball. Something simple, something easy. I'm gonna then go to my colors, grab this orange, and we're going to just brownish orange, and we're just gonna drop that color in there. So make sure that you're adding your colors to each frame individually, because if you don't, it's not gonna show up in your animation. You may end up putting a color on the wrong frame, like what I just did here on accident. Just be mindful that you want to treat every animation, every frame the same. Perfect. All right, so let's see what we're working with now. Let's start here, player animation. Now we have this orange ball from the left to the bottom to the top. Perfect. Now we're gonna pause. So now let's put in some more detail. Of course, a basketball has laces. So we're gonna go ahead and add our lace. I'm gonna zoom in and I'm gonna create that lace. cool. So now we have our details. So there you have it. You have your animated basketball. Now, of course, you can add more details. You can continue the frames and put everything in together. But I do want to go over two more of these I'm going to go over two more animation principles that I forgot to mention. So as you can tell, you know, the ball starts very slow and speeds up as it hits the ground. That is considered easing in and easing out. So the ball starts at a stagnant phase, it eases in, meaning that's kind of like a roller coaster. When you start at the top, you go in and whoosh, it's the same concept. So that's considered an ease in, ease out principle. The other one I wanted to mention, that I forgot to mention, was time and space. So timing and space is basically where an animation starts and where it ends. Looking at where the frames begin, you see there's space in between each animation. From the beginning, you won't have as much space because we're building that ease in and ease out. But as you slowly go in, and I'll turn the onion skin opacity all the way up so you can see what I'm talking about. And let me max out the onion skin frame. So you see that as the animation is going through its frames, the space begins to increase. It then decreases as it gets to the bottom, and it goes back up. We start losing that space. But it's just showing how the animation progresses from one frame to the other. That's all space and time is for animation, or in animation principles. That's pretty much it. So the last thing I want to show you guys is to add a background. So what you can do here, and this background can simply just be a placeholder, so you don't have to add a background to every animation frame. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna just go on our first frame, and we're gonna click add a new frame. It's gonna put it in between the two frames that you don't initially want. So we're just gonna take this frame and put it on this side. So now this frame stays alone. We're gonna click this, and then we're gonna turn on background. So what this means is that this frame is now considered the background for all of your other frames. So let's do this. I'm going to click this. I'm going to change this background. Let's give it a light blue or teal. Now let's do light blue. Yeah, slide this way. I'm going to take this color and I'm going to drag it onto this frame. Cool. So now this is the placeholder background for it. I'm going to then reduce my opacity to 40, turn my onion skin layer down to like 3, and then I'm going to play the animation, and let's see what happens. Boom. And it's that simple. Alright, so once your animation is finally finished, we want to export it. So let's go to the wrench on the left hand side, and then let's go to share, and let's do animated GIF. So you can see here, you can decrease or increase the frame rates of your animation. But I think it's best if we leave it at 11 frames, since we have 11 frames in our animation. So once you're done, just click export. You can probably title it whatever you want to title it. You can just title it animation or bouncing ball or whatever, and then you hit export. Then it'll export your animation. Then you can either send it to your computer, save it on your images, or whatever you want to do. Send it to your email. But this basically gives you the chance to take your animation off of your iPad and put it in a space where you can share and send it to other people. Kind of a recap. We learned how to create our frames. We learned how to add detail. We learned about our animation assist. And we learned about onion skin layering and a few principles about animation. If you want to look those up, there's 12 of them. You can go online and find that, of course, or I can probably put them in the descriptions, and I'll have a couple of links directing you to that site that I've found those resources. Yeah, animating in Procreate. Of course, it can be way more complex than this, but I wanted to create something that was very simple and basic for everyone to comprehend. Even myself, like I said, I'm still learning this. So hopefully you've learned a lot today. Hopefully you learned enough to get started and not be as intimidated of animation and cartoons and creating these things, because it's to our disposal and we should be able to use them whenever we want to. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It'll definitely help with the expansion of my content. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I recommend you do. This year is going to be great for me, especially with the new concepts that I'm developing and learning throughout the time, and things I'm willing to share with you all in that process. So yeah, hopefully you liked today's video, and there'll be more to come. Till next time, peace.
Coming in, flex. I just wanna win, LABB, who we running with, 2, 2, 3, 3, I'm on 10 again, state your name, big dope on flame. I just switched the